how do you deal with church hurt? Now, obviously, this is a very complex and nuanced issue. So there's not going to be some magic, one size fits all, here's my step-by-step guide on how to resolve all these conflicts. Like, that's just improbable and impractical. But what I do want to do is at least offer some of my thoughts on what I think might be beneficial for kind of setting the groundwork and the foundation that will better help the approach to be as effective and as smooth as possible. So let's start with, I guess, what is church hurt? Well, different definitions and experiences may influence and inform how one may answer this question, but I'm gonna just try to keep it simple, and I would define church hurt as an individual who has experienced physical, emotional, or spiritual harm or mistreatment by the church as a collective or by specific members or a member of the church. A key characteristic of church hurt is that as a result of the offense, the individual may begin to question the validity of the church, of their faith, or even of God. So how would we as a church member reach out to those who may have been hurt by the church? Well, number one, I think we need to really seek to understand the situation that occurred, as well as the individual's perspective on it. Listening with the intent to understand, not with the intent to respond. Obviously, there's different sides of a story, but in this case, we really want to make sure that we are listening and hearing their side and that they feel as if they're being heard. That's going to be very, very important if we want to be able to do the next step, which is to seek to empathize with them and to support them where appropriate. And to empathize just simply means to be able to be in feeling with them, which basically means that you're able to see things from their perspective, understand what the experience was, and kind of be able to feel what they felt in that moment, right? Obviously, it's not going to be a complete vicarious understanding, but to the best of your ability, you want to be able to at least have that compassion for them through being able to see things from their perspective, through their eyes, and kind of walk in their shoes. And speaking of compassion, number three, you want to be able to maintain that positive relationship with that individual. One of the, bad things that may happen is that people in the church may end up cutting that person off. And so being able to maintain a positive relationship with that individual is going to be very, very helpful. Number four is, remember that the goal is not to simply get them back to going to church, but rather to maintain the relationship with God above all. Because simply going back to church means absolutely nothing if it's done out of a sense of duty, obligation, or shame. And it's not done out of an outflow of one's relationship with God. Number five, church hurt can easily turn into God hurt, which is to a certain extent understandable, right? The church is supposed to be a reflection of God, key word being supposed to be. So when the church does something that is wrong, it will inevitably and unfortunately reflect poorly on people's perception of God. Number six. So in order to help prevent this, we need to separate the individual's view of God from their experience at church. Seek to remind them of and reinforce to them the character of God and the love of God. So how do we do that? Number seven. Don't just try to say, oh, it's not all churches, or give them the you ought to forgive speech. That may come off or be perceived as invalidating their experience or their feelings. Again, your goal isn't to try to defend the church per se or get them back to going to church. at that particular moment, your priority is maintaining that positive relationship with them, as well as that relationship with God. Number 8. So the church is supposed to be a reflection of the character of God, right? So remind them of what that character is supposed to look like. And not just by telling them with your words, but by demonstrating it with your actions and with your life. Remember, the church isn't about the building, isn't about the institution, it's not about the politics or whatever. It's the people. The people in their life that reflects the character of God is going to be far more important than just simply going into a building. Think of it this way. If you look in a mirror, and the mirror is dirty, broken, warped, and therefore your reflection in that mirror looks distorted and nothing like you, what do? Do you never look in the mirror ever again? Do you denounce all mirrors? Or do you believe that all the mirrors just make you look bad? Or maybe you accept the reality that it's probably just that mirror that is faulty, and maybe you just need to get a new one. That particular mirror may have failed in fulfilling its purpose, but that doesn't mean that the purpose itself has changed or been distorted. The mirror may have been the one that was distorted, but the purpose of the mirror still hasn't changed. It doesn't mean that all mirrors should be rejected as pointless and purposeless. So ultimately, you recognize and you understand the purpose of the mirror, and you seek to find one that best fulfills that established purpose. So, no church is perfect. Why? Because the church is made up of people, and no people are perfect. Yes, even you, the one who may have experienced church hurt. Now, does that excuse the hurtful things that people may have said or done? Absolutely not. Those individuals still need to be held accountable for whatever it is that they may have said or done. And it is completely reasonable and understandable if you wish to distance yourself from them. But at the same time, it's also a dose of reality. If you're looking for a church that is perfect, you'll never find one. It doesn't exist. God is perfect, yes, but unfortunately, his people are not. Now, are there people, communities, and churches out there that are genuinely seeking to reflect the character of God? Yeah, there are. And you should seek to join them. But at the end of the day, remember that Christianity is about being like Christ and having a relationship with Christ. It's not about trying to be like other Christians or having relationships with other Christians. The foundation of your faith and relationship with God should never be placed on people or other Christians, for they will inevitably fail you. And if your foundation is placed on them, when they fail, so will your faith. The foundation of your faith and relationship with God should be founded upon Christ, for he will never forsake you or fail you. And no matter what other Christians may say or do, you will be able to withstand it, for your foundation is fortified and solidified upon the rock, the Lord Jesus Christ. And as always, think on these things.